Hi, this is David Ruben from the Ruben Law Firm. This video is going to be a basic video on what can happen to you if you get a DUI in the state of Maryland. I've done these videos before. Things have changed slightly. The one major change in Maryland with regard to driving under the influence or driving while impaired is the sanctions that you can get with regard to your license and the leaning toward what we call the ignition interlock or the blow and go or the breath thing that you have in your car in simple language. Courts are going to be required to order you to do that in exchange for a probation before judgment. Now, it was never like that before. There are more scenarios with the MVA if you refuse the test, if you blow over a .15, if you get a conviction, things like that, which require the ignition interlock in your car. So if you get pulled over for a DUI, you can almost expect, if you're going to want to drive to and from work or to and from wherever, you're likely going to have to get ignition interlock on your car. It's a pain in the neck, and there are exceptions you can have if you need it for work, but it is something that's more likely to have now than you had before. Otherwise, DUIs in the state of Maryland are pretty much the same as they've always been. If it's a first offense DUI and nobody got injured, and you took a class and you learned from your mistake, you're likely going to get, if not a not guilty, we're getting more not guilties than we've ever had before, primarily because of the way police officers act, because we have body cams now, and frankly because of Corey Ruben, who works with me, who's finding ways to get not guilties or get the state's attorney to drop the case to reckless driving, things like that. But in the event that you are guilty, you in fact did it, the same result's going to happen what it did before. That's called a probation before judgment. That means you go to court, you don't go to jail, you don't get a conviction, you don't get any points on your license, but like I said, you're likely going to get ignition interlock in your car. Other than that, don't drink and drive. We're not trying to make a lot of money on drink and driving cases, but unfortunately it's something that happens every day. It still happens. Even with Uber, people make mistakes. The problem is, and I've always said this, it's not illegal to drink and drive. You're allowed to have one beer and drive. Or are you allowed to have one beer and drive? What happens if you get pulled over, you smell of alcohol in your breath, you refuse a test, they're going to think you were drinking and driving. Were you? Was the alcohol enough to impair your ability to drive the vehicle, to make it so you were unsafe? That's what it is. And because there's that gray area of whether or not you're drinking and driving or whether or not you're doing something illegal, unfortunately, there's always going to be DUIs for people that aren't alcoholics, that aren't necessarily bad people, that just make a mistake and think they can go out and have a beer or two and drive, but it turns out they can't. We're here to answer your questions. We're here to represent you if you're looking for a good, affordable attorney anywhere in the state of Maryland. Give us a call, reach out to us anytime. We'll be happy to help.